Guys, this market is weird, and the solution is the private network. I know I've been preaching this for probably 4 or 5 years. Whenever the private network came out, I've been preaching that it's a great tool. It's become even better over the years and more applicable now. And I want to explain why it's the solution, okay? So in the grand scheme of things, we're going to start zoomed out. There is an inventory crisis, all right? There's not enough houses available for the buyers that want them. And so brokerages are begging and realtors are marketing to sellers and homeowners, hey, we need your listing. Here's how you can list, whatever. The problem is, for whatever reason, those sellers don't necessarily need to move and the rates are still high. So why would they list their house when they don't have to move and then trade up from probably a 3% rate to 6.5% rate or higher, whatever it is? Why would they trade all of that to get a more expensive monthly payment and all? There's not a lot of incentives for sellers to sell, which is why they're not selling. But there are some people out there that do need to sell. They just can't find the right house, right? So there's all these different variables. And the answer to all of it, the answer is the private network, okay? Now you got to work with an agent like me who's not going to pressure you, because that's the key here. Because you do have to sign a listing agreement. It is a serious contract. It is a commitment. And as a realtor, we do put money into this stuff. So as long as you are going to sell eventually, then I am willing to put in the time and the effort and the money to get this property listed privately. The reason the private network works, okay, is there's no market time, there's no price history, and you can use this on the sell side and you can use this on the buy side as well. So for a buyer, okay, and there's no status changes. That's the other thing. So market time, price history, status changes, all gone. Now, as realtors, if I'm being completely honest and transparent, we can see that stuff. It takes a couple extra steps for us to see the price history on a private listing. It takes a couple extra steps to see how long it's been on the market as a private listing, but we can find it if we want to. The reason that that's not an issue is because for realtors, we also understand that there's sometimes reasons houses don't sell or aren't selling, and it has nothing to do with the price or the house. Sometimes it's a situational thing, and that's why you're listed privately. And so we totally understand that there are those scenarios, and we don't put a negative stigma with the fact that you've been on the private network for 6 months, right? Or we'll ask the agent, hey, what's going on? Why has this been on the private for 6 months? And then, of course, you get the real story. Usually it has nothing to do with the price or the house, and it's just a situational thing. However, the public, if you were publicly listed and they saw it sitting there for 6 months, they don't understand that it's because there's no houses available for you to go to and that you've gotten 3 or 4 full price offers, but you couldn't accept them because you didn't have a house to buy, right? Like they don't understand the situational thing, or grandma's sick, or we don't know when the relocation is going to happen, or we were going to move and then now we're not going to move and now we're going to move again. And they don't understand all of the situational things that could be happening. They just look at the price and they look at the market time and they think you're overpriced and you start getting lowball offers and the listings are going to become stale, et cetera, et cetera. The private listing network doesn't do any of that because there is no market time for the public. There is no status change for the public. And I think that's the main key. And there's no price history. So if you had to drop your price, okay, it just looks like a new private listing, right? Okay, so on the buy side, the reason that this is advantageous for you is because you may be able to go into these private listings and say, hey, I know you guys are privately listed. When are you planning on listing publicly, right? Well, we're going to list publicly on June 1st. Right now it's, May 24th or whatever. We're going to list publicly June 1st, so we got a week. Hey, why don't we give you a full price offer right now? We have to sell our house, but we'll get it sold over this weekend because it's ready to go. It's also privately listed. So here, Mr. Agent, our agent will send you, right? I'm the agent. So I will send you the listing of my buyer's house that they have to sell on the private network. You can look through the pictures. You can see our price. You can see exactly why we're going to sell fast. Accept our offer now before you even go public, okay? And we'll have our house under contract over the weekend and everybody wins. Now, if we don't have our house under contract over the weekend, then we'll cancel the whole thing. You guys can list publicly and see what you get, right? That's one way to do it. And I've had that work before. We try to convince people to let us sell their house before they even go public, because you're more off the market as a private network listing than you would be if you were on the market under contract. The public doesn't know that you're even there. So there's no price history. So you go under contract with us. Doesn't matter. No status change. Doesn't matter, right? So no one has to know that you were under contract for a week because we had to sell our house, right? But we need to know, as buyers, we need to know that we have somewhere to go before we list this thing publicly and we start getting market time counters, price history, status changes, right? We are willing to do all of that, but we need to know where we're going first. Now, on the flip side, as a seller, that's advantageous to you, right? And as a seller who needs to buy something, right? Same thing there, right? It's on the private network. You might be able to get somebody that says, hey, man, we want to buy your house. You're like, cool, but we don't know where we're going. They're like, that's fine. We don't need to move until August 15th. So we'll give you a 60-day contingency here to find a property. And if you don't, no sweat. And again, fine. You accept that guy's offer. And now you can go shopping with your house under contract, which is a much stronger position. And you can go shopping and try to find a property over the next 60 days. And if you don't, then you can cancel it all because they gave you that contingency. And we wouldn't have accepted it if they didn't give you that contingency. And then there's no status change. So you cancel that contract. The buyer's like, man, shoot, sorry you couldn't find a place. I'm a little bummed, but whatever. I gave you the contingency. So the whole thing falls apart and nobody even knows the difference because you're still just on the private network. So there's no market time. There's no price history. There's no status changes. These are all the things that give negative stigma to properties and let them go stale when they are publicly listed. On the private network, there is none of that. So let's just get your house listed. Let's let it sit there and see what happens. And again, if you have a realtor who's pressuring you, then this could be a problem because they start pressuring you to accept offers. They start pressuring you to do things you didn't really want to do. That's not what I'm suggesting. This is not a sales pitch to try to get your listing. This is an informational piece of information for you so you understand what is possible. I just want to be the extension of you. If you had your real estate license, what would you do? And in my situation, this is what I would do. I would list it privately. I don't care if it's for 2 years and just see what you can get and wait for somebody who's willing to give you the terms that you need to either sell or buy the next one or both. And on the buy side, start looking. But if you have to sell your place, you need to get it on the private network. And if you're on the buy side, your agent should be sending you private listings. And if they're not, then you're missing out on a lot of properties that are available. None of these things are public. You cannot find them on every public website. I know there's some apps out there. I think ZenList is one of them, but not every brokerage subscribes to these apps. And so you're going to be missing out on properties if you're not getting private listings from a realtor. So if you are only a buyer and you're not getting private listings or you're searching on your own because you're not super serious, you are missing out on properties. You need to call me so I can set up a search for you that you are getting private listings that you cannot find on any other public websites, all of them, and then maybe one of those work for you. So if you have more questions about this, let me know. I know I've preached this before, so I'm sorry if it's redundant, but the private network has so many advantages, and because it's become so popular, it's almost like it's a public network now, just without the negative pieces of it. So let me know if you have questions about it. Thanks for watching.